It was 5 a.m. when I caught the shimmer of moonlight bouncing off my missing water. At first, I figured it was my mind playing tricks, just another oddity in the dawn mist rolling over my ranch. But there it was, a stream of water slithering along the fence, vanishing into my neighbor Lisa's yard like a bandit in the night. My water, the same carefully filtered well water I rely on for my livestock and slaughterhouse sanitation, was being siphoned off to scrub a gleaming silver Jeep parked on her brick driveway. I traced the hose like it was guiding me straight to perdition, and sure enough, it led to Lisa's backyard. There she was, bathrobe fluttering in the breeze, coffee mug in one hand, a smug grin plastered on her face, and a pressure washer in the other, blasting last night's dirt off her fancy ride with my ranch's lifeblood. That's when it hit Mesh wasn't just a lousy neighbor. She was a full-on adversary to my little empire. Living on a ranch tunes you into the land's pulse. You sense when something's wrong. The soil whispers. The pipes hum a different tune. That morning during my routine water check before chores, the gauge was off. The main tank was draining too fast, too soon. I'm no part-time rancher with a pet project. This is a serious operation where every drop matters. I inspected the filtration system, traced the lines, and noticed a pressure dip near the southern valve. I thought maybe a critter had gnawed through something again. But no, it wasn't wildlife, just wild Lisa. I stood there stunned, watching her act like she owned the place. She even had jazzy lounge music drifting from outdoor speakers. The gall of it. I cleared my throat loud enough to rattle the trees. She didn't blink, just lifted her mug and chirped. "Morning. Hope you don't." Mindy figured the extra could use a job. Extra? My water filtered underground, UV treated, pressurized for livestock and food grade cleaning was extra in Lisa's warped world. That was just the start of her nonsense. I tried to keep it civil. I explained it wasn't okay, that this was private property from a well I'd built and maintained for over a decade, not some free-for-all for washing her already spotless Jeep. She brushed me off with a laugh. "Oh, come on, it's not like I'm draining your lake. It's just water. Sharing's caring." I wanted to strangle the garden statue next to her just to let off steam. When I followed the hose back to my side, I saw how slick she'd been. She'd waited for me to be gone last weekend at the county fair, where I was selling grass-fed beef and teaching a slaughterhouse safety workshop. While I was lecturing on humane practices and water management, Lisa was out here playing water bandit. She tapped into an emergency line I'd capped near the fence, unscrewed it, added a splitter, and buried her extension under fake turf. She'd even zip-tied the hose to the fence to keep it neat. I called the HOA that morning a dumb move. Turns out Lisa's cousin Mark runs the board. He answered, acting like I was the troublemaker. "Well, the property line's kinda blurry there," he said, chomping on something loud enough to hear through the phone. "Lisa says she's just using runoff. She's doing you a favor, keeping it from going to waste." My teeth ground together. When I asked if anyone tracked water bills, he chuckled, "Nobody bothers with that. It's just water, pal." By noon, I had a citation in my mailbox from the HOA for improper water discharge, disrupting the neighborhood. It claimed I'd broken landscaping rules by leaving my lines unsecured. Lisa had flipped the script stage photos to make it look like I'd left hoses dangling. The DULA 200 fine was petty, but it wasn't about cash. It was about principle. Now it was war. That night, I sat on my porch with a beer, watching Lisa rinse her Jeep again. She had friends over, laughing and spraying each other with my water like they were at a high-end retreat. One yelled, "This is so fresh." "Is it spring water?" Lisa grinned, "It's local, filtered stuff from the ranch next door. The owner's cool with it." Cool? If by cool she meant plotting how much manure I could legally dump on her lawn, then yeah, I was frosty. Sleep didn't come easy. I paced, muttering about lawyers, plumbers, water laws, and revenge scenes wild enough to make MOVIE director blush. Then, at 3:14 a.m., staring at my old pressure monitor's glow, I got an idea. A wicked brilliant idea. I remembered an old pipeline that once linked the slaughterhouse's waste tank to a compost field. Unused for years, it still worked and it ran parallel to Lisa's tap. It'd take some work. Checking flow, isolating pressure, ensuring the waste was stable enough to push through without wrecking her gear. I had to stay legal. I am no lunatic, just a guy who believes if you steal, the universe eventually hands you the wrong glass. Lisa had taken what wasn't hers, lied, got me fined, and acted like my ranch was her personal spa. She was about to learn the difference between filtered water and slaughterhouse runoff on processing day. I'd be there, popcorn in hand, when it hit her. By morning, Lisa had turned her driveway into a car wash empire. She'd upgraded from just her Jeep to a Suburban detailing party folding chairs, a canopy, a cooler, and a glittery sign on her mailbox. Free wash premium filtered water. My livestock troughs were low, and I had to delay Slaughterhouse cleaning because the south line was still off. My cattle mooed in protest and I couldn't blame them. Lisa strutted around, misting her guests with a sprayer. One asked if she could fill her dog's bowl. Sure, Lisa said. It's amazing straight from next door, like artisan stuff. I nearly choked. Artisan? She was hosing meat processing water like it was a luxury brand. The HOA newsletter that day featured her. Local resident offers eco-friendly car Washington. The photo showed Lisa posing with the hose like a hero. I'd stepped into a nightmare. So I called my cousin Jake, a slaughterhouse worker with a knack for plumbing and mischief. I laid out my plan: the old compost line, the reroute. He didn't flinch. So you're GIVYing her the cow brew, he said, grabbing his tools. I'm in. The compost line was solid, once used to drain cleaning tank runoff to a manure field. It was non-toxic but reeked of fermented hay and fierce septic nightmare fuel. We tested the valves, flushed it, and confirmed it could reach Lisa's tap. Her shallow setup made it easy. When she turned on her pump, it'd pull from the compost tank instead. At night, Jake and I dug near the fence, using thermal imaging and a ranch map to splice the line. Jake rigged a remote valve from sprinkler parts so I could control it with a fob. By dawn it was ready. Lisa's next event was a garden party/car wash brunch. Guests arrived at 9 a.m. With mimosas and snacks, oblivious to the storm brewing. I flipped the valve as Lisa started her dramatic spray. It looked normal at first, then a sputter, and boom, a brown geyser erupted, soaking her robe and Jeep. She shrieked. Her guests screamed, slipping in the sludge. What is this? She yelled. It smells like dead cow, one friend cried. Why is it chunky? Another wailed. I sipped coffee on my porch, recording it in 1080p. Lisa cranked the pressure, making it worse. Sludge splattered everywhere. Her Range Rover looked like a manure truck. She stormed my fence, dripping, screaming, "You did this." I shrugged. Looks like your artisan line hit a bad vein. Cops came. She claimed I poisoned her. I showed footage, logs, and water rights. The officer smirked. Ma'am, you tapped his system. This is on you. She wasn't done. 2 days later, the HOA led by Mark called an emergency hearing for my aggressive behavior. I brought Jake documents and the VY. The board watched Lisa's theft and the brunch disaster in silence. One gasped, another laughed. We've got no say over his water, a member said. The hearing collapsed. I filed a lawsuit for theft and damages. Lisa countersued for emotional distress. Her lawyer bailed fast. Her cousin Mark quit the HOA amid conflict of interest claims. Lisa's flyers begging for sympathy flopped. Neighbors mocked her, victim of sewage terrorism sign. At a potluck, she whined by the desserts. I dropped off sliders labeled filtered to perfection and left. Then she tried selling the runoff as organic garden elixir. It worked huge plants until it went septic. The AG board shut her down, fined her, and declared her yard a biohazard. The internet dubbed her Compost Lisa. She tried renting her house, but the stigma stuck. I bought the lot next door and built an 8-foot cow statue, fountain water spouting from its rear, plaque reading in honor of free-flowing karma. Tourists loved it. Her property value tanked. Lisa faded, curtains drawn, but the cow stood tall, a reminder. Steal from me, and karma flows back thick, smelly, and unforgettable.